reviewing Green Day's fourth studio album, Insomniac, but with two twists. With Insomniac, seeing Green Day reinventing how they utilize their instruments, we're doing a gear rundown of all the guitars, bass, drums, microphones, amplifiers, and pedals the guys used, how they got that sludgier sound than Dookie. And because I am the world's busiest Green Day nerd, we're going to figure out the plot if Insomniac were a rock opera. Unlike my Nimrod review, where I got a little nuts. You want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts. I'm going to try to keep this one in the realm of reality, like sort of real life narrative in there. So let's go! Green Day's Insomniac and Weezer's Pinkerton have a lot in common. It's the second major release from a punk band on the verge of worldwide domination, who both decide to go heavier and angrier on their second time around. Even the public reaction was largely the same. Oh, we wanted more of the same. And there's a massive population of humans that are still saying that about both of these bands 30 years later. But it's part of that larger problem in rock and roll, or maybe just human society, where everybody wants the next thing to be just like the first, as Shike Minoda once said recently. Insomniac begins like Dookie with drums, but Trey's not giving you time to recover from him being all by himself on Dookie. That's where we left off with the Green Day band. Trey's arms, budget, and temper have tripled in size, like the Grinch in Whoville's heart, like a hand grenade. Where we're going, we don't need roads. And we've got our first gearhead mention here with a Yate green stain maple kit. This is what Trey Cool is primarily using on the Insomniac album, with the newfound dad anger powering his muscles. Trey would never lose his cool with his cool kids, but he would wait until they couldn't see him in the studio and then beat that Ayoite, am I saying that right? Ayoite green stain maple kit like it owed him money. 15 inches, 18 inches, and 24 inches on these drums. Now, unlike Ayoite, I actually looked up how to pronounce Zygian cymbals. I was going to really mess that up and say Zildigian cymbals, but it's Zygian, like it rhymes with pigeon. So, pigeon with the Z cymbals, which Trey Cool uses on this album. He utilizes the 14-inch K/Z Dino Beats hi-hats, a hybrid pairing of a K-series top and a Z custom bottom, giving a crisp, aggressive chick that cuts through the punk chaos. He also uses a 19-inch medium thin crash and 19-inch K medium thin crash, both offering explosive attack with a darker, more complex beat structure, a more complex decay from the K. He also has 22-inch K heavy rides, a beast of a ride with a deep pingy tone and minimal wash, perfect for anchoring the more intense tracks like, say, No Pride or Panic Song. As for snares, Trey Cool often used a Noble and Cooley 14x7 snare, a maple shell with a fat, cracking tone that really punches through the mix on Insomniac. There's also mention of a Radio King 14x6.5 maple snare, steam bent one ply that he used live during 1995 and possibly in the studio around this time. Armitage Shanks, one of the best songs in Green Day's catalog, if you ask me. Is this the first instance of a millennial whoa-oh-oh? I think I'm onto something here, guys. Armitage Shanks was the beginning of the millennial woo-woo-woos. The first signs of Green Day getting political, perhaps, Armitage Shanks is a highlight from across the entire Green Day verse, with Billy electing himself the rejected as he perfects the science of the American idiot. Dookie was full of dark thoughts, and on Armitage Shanks, some of the hope is now a burned out husk. And it feels good to wallow a bit with Green Day as they explore new sonic territory, and Billy hasn't even gotten hooked on the word razor blade yet, so there's that. Brat starts with a cappella vocals before the triplicated band explodes out of their cylinders. Mike, like Trey, has clearly been practicing since the Dookie days. The bass line is crisp, and so far, well, we're at the bass parts, right? Mike's gear. Mike utilizes the Gibson Grabber G3 bass. Mike is a very much a if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of guy. So he took care of this baby, using it from the Kerplunk era all the way through the Nimrod era. And he uses it with style and aplomb here on Insomniac. With Jilly Bo Legweek tweaking his tones and gears, Mike also turned up the knobs on an Ampeg SVT amplifier. The G3 he used had 2 original pickups and a Bartoloni jazz pickup added after a touring mishap. Maybe when somebody from Third Eye Blind punched his lights out. I don't know if that timeline adds up, but maybe they got into some scraps at different periods throughout history, time and space and coffee. Now we're talking about the amplification of Mike's setup. And Mike's rig was a mix of Ampeg, SVT, and Mesa gear. Ampeg SVT head with the vintage 8x10 cab, classic setup for that deep, punchy low end. Some sources mentioned a Mesa M2000 head paired with a 4x10 and a 1x18 cab, possibly used in tandem for layering Mike Dirnt's bass tones throughout Insomniac. Mike also ran a direct input, or DI, alongside mic'd amplifiers, leaning more on the mic'd signal for warmth and grit, and that can be sort of some of the sound being articulated for Insomniac. The signal chain! Mike's tone was likely shaped with a tube, a direct input, possibly an Eclair Engineering Evil Twin, which he used around the Dookie era as well. Like I said, Mike Dirnt is a if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of guy. Okay? The blend of direct input and mic'd cab gave Mike that tight, articulate punch without losing his low-end thump that he is known for. It's a setup that is deceptively simple but brutally effective, especially when it's paired with Jilly Bo Legweek's work and even Trey Colonius's drumming. Just like Insomniac itself. Brutally effective. With Jilly Bo Legweek and Mike Dirnt really messing around with their guitars and amplifiers and pedals, they got this really aggressive, punchy low end, and Mike really pushed the limits of what his G3, the Grabber, could grab. Did it grab your soul? Did it grab something else? Lyrically, Jilly Bo Legweek is stepping into someone else's shoes, and the person is certainly a Brat. I hope Brat's mom and dad are still alive, and I hope they live to be 139 years old in one day. And they never get that inheritance. Stuck With Me is next, and if you have never noticed that it should have been called Not Alright and Doo Da Da should have been called Stuck With Me, what's going on there? This album, I'm going to say it, Insomniac has all the magic of Dookie. I don't get the supposed hate that this album got. Average schmucks don't even know Green Day aren't Republicans, so how did they know that Billy was being all emo in the lyrics? They didn't. They didn't. Were there Insomniac haters back in 1995? I don't know, because this album actually predates my Green Day fandom by a couple of years. In elementary school, I heard Green Day. I'd heard some of their songs on the radio, and I remember a friend of mine wearing a Green Day t-shirt in class in elementary school, but that was the extent of my Green Day knowledge. I would jump on the Green Day crazy train during the Nimrod era. Good riddance. It just got me. Maybe some of the hate for Insomniac is due to the next song. The single Geek Stink Breath or Breathe. Is it breath or breathe? Geek Stink Breath. That's the way that I say it. Which does feel a little grimy and gnarly to be a hit single played on MTV and the radio. Jilly Bo Legweek is having all sorts of issues here, which happens when you don't sleep. He's breaking out like Dave Grohl. You make me break out! His teeth are rotting inside. Oh dear. His blood is turning sour and his pulse is beating out of time. Perhaps that's why Billy is alone on the boulevard of broken dreams. His pulse left his heart, and so it is the only thing that's beating. His pulse went nuts way back in 1995. It's a gnarly little bop about abusing substances and the consequences of such. And yeah, I guess I could see why people were a little turned off by Geek Stink Breath. Even if you aren't reading the lyrics, you can kind of get the vibe of what's going on. The music video is clearly disgusting and gross. Green Day themselves are looking a little bit worse for wear. But to my ears, the epic track is just that. It's an epic track. Jilly Bo Legweek's guitar, while powerful up to this point, really rears its headstock in a massive way on No Pride. On Geek Stink Breath, Billy used his Gibson Les Paul Jr., but for No Pride, he changes things up, pulling out his Fernandez Stratocaster, aka Blue. Seymour Duncan SH4 humbuckers in the bridge, which is one of the key ingredients to that nasty Insomniac snarl. Again, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Blue. I spend my money on Blue guitars. Blue is Jilly Bo Legweek's main weapon with the legendary Fernandez Strat-style guitar. It's a 1980s Fernandez, the Revival RST-50, finished in worn-out sonic blue and plastered with stickers. The key mods include Seymour Duncan SH4 JB humbucker in the bridge, angled for an extra bite, selector switch locked to the bridge position, and the original single coils are disconnected because screw that garbage. This guitar has already survived Dookie and Woodstock 1994, and it kept delivering that snarling, mid-heavy tone on Insomniac. Have Green Day ever used the word amplifiers in their lyrics? Let me know in the comments. The amplifiers of Insomniac. The Marshall Mayhem. You've heard of Marshall Mathers, but have you heard of Marshall Mayhem? Billy ran his blue guitars through Marshall Plexi 1959 LSP heads, modded or modified with Bradshaw Gain mod for more saturation, a Dookie mod, which is a custom tweak for his tone, and SE lead mods, which adds a tube for extra gain, more gnarly sounds. These were paired with Marshall 4x12 cabinets, mic'd up in the studio. Despite the punk aggression, Billy's tone was surprisingly clean, gain around 10 o'clock, with EQ knobs mostly at noon. For pedals, we got minimal but mighty pedals on the board for Insomniac. Billy Joe's main pedal was a Boss BD2 blues driver used to push the amp into breakup or coax feedback. That's it. No pedal board circus, just raw tone and attitude. It's a setup that mirrors Insomniac itself. Stripped down, aggressive, totally unapologetic. Now, we gotta talk about Jilly Bo Legweek's vocals, which were likely tracked with a Neumann U87 or a Neumann U67, studio staples with their warmth and clarity is what they're known for. These large diaphragm condensers were perfect for capturing Billy Joe or Jilly Bo Legweek's nasally bite without giving it a harsher sound on the recordings. For the drums, Trey Cool's Ayate kit would have been a closed mic'd and room mic'd with a mix like a kick drum, AKG D112, or Electro Voice RE20. For the snare, there was a Shure SM57, classic choice, can't go wrong. The toms were mic'd with the Sennheiser MD421. The overheads were Neumann KM84 or AKG C414s. And the room mics were Neumann U87s or even Cole's 4038s ribbons for the vibe. How did Jilly Bo Legweek mic his guitars? Marshalls were likely mic'd with a Shure SM57, like we've talked about previously, close to the cone, and possibly a Royer R121 or Sennheiser MD421 for added body. Some engineers also use a Neumann U87 a few feet back to capture the room tone, or kind of like this spatial anomaly that you can feel when you listen to rock and roll. On Mike's bass, his rig was probably used in conjunction with a DI signal, direct input signal, for clarity, blended with a mic'd cabinet, often like an RE20, a U47 FET, or AKG D112 on the Ampeg 8x10. The Insomniac sound is tight and aggressive, but it's also surprisingly hi-fi. Thanks to the smart mic choices and meticulous placement in the studio, they might have mixed together a lot of tape and console elements, but that's a whole other rabbit hole. Ooh, baby, I've been told that I'm going crazy. Oh, baby, you're tearing me apart. Hit me, baby, one more time. Babs Uvula Who again? Another song with Billy Joe crunching blue like he wants to marry it. EB standard tuning, kind of the standard for 1995 Green Day. Babs Uvula Who has some dramatic feedback as Jilly Bo Legweek focuses on being all wound up. Now we are at not 1986, but 86, where there is no return from. And 86 in many of the songs on Insomniac have some weird gurgling vocals beneath bong noises. I don't know. There's some very strange sounds if you listen with some decent headphones. And 86 is a term for getting rid of something. I remember my dad's best friend, RIP, explaining that restaurants would frequently use this term to get rid of a topping, like a burger, 86 the onions, 86 the tomatoes. And Green Day are the onions, and punk scene is the burger. Okay, there is no return from 86, and Green Day aren't even going to try. They will lend a helping hand when the scene needs them, but they don't want or need to return. Screw punk rock. It is stupid. What the fuck? What the fuck? The next song is more than 2 minutes long. These guys aren't punk rockers anyway. I'm okay. Unfortunately for me, Panic Song has the closest thing that Green Day have ever done to an intro or an interlude, and I am anti those things. I do love that Mike Dirnt co-wrote the lyrics with Jilly Bo Legweek, which is an extremely rare instance. Once Panic Song gets going, it's great. It just takes a long time to get there. There's a great 1 minute Green Day song at the end of this experiment, and in an album that's staying in one lane most of the time, I guess Panic Land. I guess the Panic Song is a welcome palate cleanser to prepare us for what is to come afterwards. For Insomniac, Billy mostly used a Shure SM57, but traded it in for a Newman U87 when he needed a warmer vocal sound. The Shure SM57 is dynamic and was key to getting that really gnarly, punky, aggressive recording out of Billy's vocal cords. You want to explore his vocal cords? That's what we're doing. AKG C414 XL2 was also brought in for certain line deliveries as well. So I would be intrigued to know, like, which vocal lines did they switch out the microphones for? Oh. And when Mike fills out the harmonies on Insomniac, he's favoring on Mike Dirnt's singing microphone. We never see that in the studio. Mike Dirnt recording vocals. But Mike Dirnt records his vocals with a Shure SM58, which works best for his heavenly voice, like a Van Gogh painting. I didn't tell you so. Like Armitage Shanks, Stewart and the Avenue is another very strong branch of the tree of sleepless Green Day. In a song versus song battle, I think Armitage would have the upper hand, smashing toilets like Belushi on Stewart's head. So yeah, Armitage Shanks beats Stewart's head, but Stewart is the runner-up on Insomniac. Let's not discuss how Green Day feel about runners-up. Trey's smash tapping through the tulips of drums. Mike's just going above and beyond, yet still serving the song well. And Billy's a scorned lover standing on, you guessed it, 5th Avenue and 56th Street. If you get that reference, weird, I made it up. In this rocker, Stewart and the Avenue, Billy takes a breakup song and turns it into high art lyrically. It's a very visual kind of song. You can really feel and see, or at least I can, what Billy Joe is describing. He's ripping up a transcript. We got all these details in our very serious, depressing rock opera later in this video. One of Green Day's best songs, again, Armitage Shanks and Stewart and the Avenue, definite highlights of this record that's just pretty freaking good all the way through. And then we get this. Dun-dun, 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 dun-dun. Nah, screw this crap. I want to play... Screw this crap. I want to play a brand new song. Screw this crap. You see it? You see that freaking sign back there? You see that sign back there? 1 minute. 1 minute. You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be... This is a joke. This is a joke. This is a really corny joke. Making fun of something that happened to Green Day. You gotta be kidding me, man. You gotta be, this is, now, now I got nothing left. Now I got nothing left. Ugh. My parents hated this song, Brain Stew. I hated this song. I'm a son of a gun. Brain Stew, it can be grating. It's so caveman simple that it's no wonder that it's one of the band's biggest songs. I'm sorry, caveman won't boing boing. Cocky won't boing boing. Dan Hinchell, I love you. In our world of AI knowledge, did you know that Green Day kind of got into the dictionary with their take on cross stops in Billy Joe's head? It's got three definitions. It could be pills, a punk rock band from the Bay Area that sings exclusively about 18-wheelers. What the fuck? And then Green Day's take on the word is more symbolic, one about racing minds and sleep-deprived battles with sleep deprivation and sleep deprivation tanks. Oh yeah, party time in another dimension. But Brain Stew is really annoying. I usually like the big hits by Green Day, but Brain Stew, jeez, I wish this one would be gone from the set list. I know Insomniac doesn't get a whole lot of love on the stage, but come the fuck on, man. I usually don't drop F-bombs, but Brain Stew and Panic Song are easily the garbage of this record. I mean, I like them, but they're the weakest. I mean, rip out, like, play Armitage Shanks, Stewart in the Avenue. Heck, I would take Geek Stink Breath or Stuck With Me. I know Green Day like to stick with the hits. So Stuck With Me, Walking Contradiction, Geek Stink Breath. But no. Every person on planet Earth is just obsessed with Brain Stew. Dun-dun. 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 Yeah, this song can crawl into a cave somewhere with Toshinka and get stuck in it. Stuck in that cave with bad luck. Now, the male deep-sea angler that attaches itself to the butt of Brain Stew and becomes a mindless zombie boy with no brains. Look, Mom! Yeah, I'm describing Jaded because it kind of attaches itself to the body of Jaded slaps. I like Jaded a lot. A simple song about falling over and rotting inside. It really nails the emotional center of the album in a direct, biting way. And this song is a fan favorite for a lot of Green Day fans. It is irritating to me that it's like American Idiot streaming tracks all glued to the other side of another song. Jaded stands on its own, and it did stand on its own on the album. It could have been Green Day's shortest single instead of She was 2 minutes and 14 seconds. The Simpsons theme was 1, 2, 3. Fire Ready Aim was 1, 5, 3. Now we're getting to a very rare point in Green Day's catalog, one that I'm not incredibly familiar with. For whatever reason, I really love these songs. I do not revisit Westbound Sign and Tightwad Hill very often at all. And you know what? It's proven to be kind of a blessing here in 2025 when I'm filming, a blessing 30 years down the road. Because in 2025, I've still got a couple of Green Day songs that are not rent-free in my head. I can enjoy these two songs like they are brand new Green Day songs when they blast through my stereo, and I really need that in my life because I have overplayed some Green Day. Let me tell you what, there is not enough Green Day music in the world. We need to get into that vault. Without making Green Day mad, I'm not going to be squirting Jilly Bo with the water gun. I'm not going to be playing Wonderwall during Good Riddance. You're supposed to, the Wonderwall is Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Man. But Westbound Sign is a really fresh take, for me anyway, About a girl leaving home for a better world? Of course, Billy stands on the corner of insignificance, wondering if she made the right decision for her life, or if she'll end up a sleepless, waking dead, a walking dead zombie, just like him, a whacked out, cracked out, watch the world get bushwhacked kind of American idiot. She'll be fine, maybe. The hell is wrong with me? I still have a couple of... Hey! Tightwad Hill utilizes the Shure SM58, capturing Billy's nasal mouth noises in supersonic fashion again. And I'm thrilled that these two tracks feel fresh to my ears in 2025. I have worn out even the digital versions of all my favorite Green Day songs. Even some of the Green Day songs that I don't like so much. I've worn them all out except for Westbound Sign and Tightwad Hill. So those two just kind of have a new special place in my heart all these years later. Walking Contradiction is Green Day playing in a sandbox of wordplay. And this is a position that I wish Green Day were in more often because Billy does it so well. And if you weren't forced to read Catch-22 in school or in any other kind of a hostage situation, go out and delight in the book yourself now, because you're 40 and you should read a book every now and then. Walking Contradiction is an epic music video and an epic conclusion to Green Day's 4th studio album. It's a 5 out of 5. And let's talk about rock opera Insomniac. Insomniac, the musical. Or at least, no, they wouldn't make Insomniac a musical. It's too hardcore punk for that. Billy is stranded on the side of the boulevard. Everyone in his town is sick of him, and he knows it. He's been a chump. With smoke billowing from the hood of his Mercury, Billy can't cruise it up and down the road like he wants to. Because cell phones aren't popular in 1995, Jilly Bo Legweek makes his way to a payphone and calls a mechanic. And the repairs, just the estimate alone, astronomical. Reaching into his skinny wallet, there's no way that the car's getting repaired this week. Mom and Brad are not going to be happy about this. And our young, sleep-deprived cult hero, in his anger and rage and love, has some bad thoughts. He's going to have to wait for them to die to get his inheritance before he's going to be able to get the Mercury running again. Life just sucks. He's lost the war. He's giving up. He's a whore. But this young man's hand, with luck in it, is just got filled up a little bit as a group of his fellow students pull up in their Mustang and offer to give Billy Joe Armstrong a ride. He's been done with the whole sports thing for a while, but the jocks and the cheerleaders in the vehicle, they don't hassle Billy Joe. They kind of like him. Reluctantly, not redundantly, but reluctantly, Billy takes the ride, and on the outside, he's respectful to the gang as they take him back to the gutter, and as he makes his way to the front door, he struggles not to curse them all out for lending a hand. He's on the verge of a panic attack. Heck, he probably had 4 on the ride home. Billy goes straight to his room. His stuffed Bert and Ernie's glare at him knowingly. What's his face? James Burt and their lady friends don't know it, but he's jacked their stash. What are jocks going to do with anyway? They don't even know how to... And even if they did, they wouldn't get the same... Billy blows through all of it, all the stuff in a hurry, because what if Mom and Brad were to come home? Billy's got his own place, sure, but with all the dookie fanatics out there and punk rockers looking for trouble, he's been laying low with his family. His mind, a blur of destruction and sour blood, suddenly remembers a pleasurable thing. Mom and Brad are going to be gone for a while. A long while. Like a Jesus of suburbia length of time. He eats some pizza that he finds in the trash can. Who throws away pizza? That's just vulgar in every way. It's the only acceptable time you can throw away pizza is if it's got pineapples on it. And even then you just kind of have to just eat the pizza, the pineapple juice. God. But Billy Joe, he's eating this pizza without pineapples, and he puts on an Ozzy Osbourne record. He tries not to destroy the entire house in a fit of spaz pants. He's going to pick the scabs off of his face. He feels like he's going to puke. He can tell that his breath is rank. But who cares? The next day, Billiam makes his way across town and sees the crowds gathering outside of Gilman Street. He hasn't slept and isn't sure what day it is, and his hands are all bloody with shards of glass in them. Uh-oh. Are the cops after you? After me? Run away! He sees a pit bull mix in the road, a tan and brown one, snarling after a cat or a chicken or a goat. We're going to tell your wife, man. And thinks of himself being that angry mutt, a chicken-chasing loser of the underground. It's over. And as if he sensed it before it started, turn around. Thank you. Billy hits the street, his Chuck Taylors right now, moving faster than most slackers ever dare. As angry calls of rejection begin to fling in his direction, he barely notices, and yet it's all he can think about. If he walked over there, they'd probably let him in, or unalive him right there in the dead grass. Either way, the music would be a sick soundtrack to die to. Oh boy. He didn't even think about reaching out for help. Mike, Trey, oh hell no. It wouldn't help anyway. Hours later, or days, or weeks, or months, Jilly Bo Legweek is rehearsing with Trey and Mike, and it's not going particularly well. Trey has complained that Billy is all over the place, and Mike can see it too. Billy is having another panic attack. And while trying to sing a song that would have eventually been called Reject, hey man, maybe we should skip this time, pick up next session. Mike, the ever level-headed beast, Mike Dirt, baby. He can see that Trey is getting irritated, and Mike is getting irritated too. Green Day are about to go at it. Why don't you just smash those cymbals over your head, you dumb... And it was about to be on. Trey knocked over his set and warbled towards Billiam, but decided not to wreck his cranium delirium right there on the spot. Trey stormed out with a lot of profanity. Uno levels of profanity. More profanity than Uno. Mike started to put his hand on Billy's shoulder, but stopped short, simply taking his bass off his own shoulder and walking away. We'll pick up where we left off tomorrow. No big deal. He comforted Billy, but it was useless. Billy was elsewhere in the warehouse, kicking a barrel over and screaming something like, "Shut them up! You dirty pile of waste! You die!" It was bad. 2 years earlier. 1993, 924 Gilman Street at 9:39 p.m. In the shadows, Billy Joe Armstrong is talking with Jeff. And Jeff is going on and on about punk ideals, punk reasoning, corporations, especially ones that make coffee and Slurpees. Those are the worst. He's going on about them being pure evil. If any friend of mine ever made a grape flavored Slurpee for 7-Eleven/Speedway, and a guy named Chris bought one in 2025 and made a YouTube short about it, man, that would be the worst thing that could ever happen within the punk rock community, Billiam. And he meant it. He meant it with all his little punk rock heart. He talked about how he'd body slam anyone that did that very specific thing and throw them out on the street, peel them off his burger like a tomato and eat said burger, but hate it because it still had the tomato juice on it. You can never wash off major label tomato juice. Once you get that stuff on you, you start bleaching your hair, wearing suits and ties, you become a robot with a grenade for a heart. There is no return. There is no return, Jeff said. There is no return from 86. And now, flash forward back. Flash forward to 1995. Billy can feel the cold arms of Jeff body slamming him into the mud of the barren Woodstock fields. The shame, the scabs, the crabs, the agony. Billy Joe had become the thing that his friends hated. But did he hate himself? In any case, there is no return from 86. Do not even try.
My name's Jeff.
Billy wondered where he... Cut all this out. Cut all this out. Billy wondered where he would see music now that Gilman did not want him there. He calls Mike up and they have coffee together at the Trojan Butt Loggers Club, trying to work out how they can get Trey back in the band. But the two brothers, Billy and Mike, they're not clicking with each other and the meeting falls apart. Both of them on the edge of cliff panic. Billy falls back first onto his car. Mom and Brad help him fix the car after all, but he falls back on it, crying like a baby, wearing a diaper. Wimpy, sellout, destroyed. Mike has tears in his eyes as well, his baby eyes. Green Day are teetering on destruction and defeat. They feel like they're defeated. Maybe they are defeated. They're wimpy, sellout, destroyed men. And where did their drummer go? Billy Joe Armstrong had a girlfriend? Oh crap, he forgot. He had one and he forgot about her. All this time, he had completely forgotten about her until now. Maybe they talked last week. Oh man, she is going to freak out. Billy Joe Armstrong dialed her number in a mad panic. He expected a long waiting session of dial tone, but she picked up before it could ring. "Hello?" she said sternly, like Adele. "Hi," Billy said, his hands sweaty and shaking, like a drug addict. "Are you okay?" What's her name asks. What's her name asks Billy, "Are you okay?" But in a cold, dead, unaffected voice. And Billy Joe responds, I was practicing and thought of you." He ignored the ignoring. I'm moving to Lafrancoburg, she said quietly. It's pretty far away. Oh, cool, is all that Billy Joe Armstrong could say. You can call if you want to sometimes, but I know you're pretty busy. I get it. There you go. The words were cold and dead, but there was anger behind them still. Standing on the corner of Stewart and the Avenue, Billy rips up his transfer and a photograph of Amanda he had crinkled in his wallet with the chain. He hangs up the phone. Did he even say goodbye? Without another thought, he calls Trey, and they talk for exactly 3 hours. Chapter 10, Brain Stew. Brain Stew. James Washburn has a 2000... God. James Washburn has a 2,000-foot tall pink mohawk. He also never shut the hell up about cars. Mike Dirnt and Billy Joe Armstrong could talk about music all night, but for James Washburn, his brain stewed on cars 25-8 at the 7-Eleven. Bill and Mike were trying to talk about While My Guitar Gently Weeps, but no! Halfway through his ramblings about catalytic whatchamadoocahs, Billy screamed, I've got it! And Mike Dirnt, also wanting Brain Stew to shut the hell up, asked, What do you have, Jilly Bo? Sounding very much like the intro to International Super Hits for some reason. I'm gonna write something really gnarly, something that will make people in my window go away. And he began writing on his blue guitar. What he played got this response. Sounds a little doofy, man. I wouldn't put anything like that on a Green Day record. It's really whack. And Billy Joe leaned in, his rotten teeth poking Brain Stew in the eyeballs, the bleeding, the bloodshot black eyes of his, and said, There is no return from 86. I bet that. Don't even try. I'm a punk rocker. I'm not Justin Bieber. And Mike and Brain Stew, they didn't even bother to ask who Justin Bieber was because Billy was on the junk. And Mike, who had slept at the same place as Billy, hadn't seen Billy sleep for at least 2 weeks and 3 hours. Oh, love. Oh, boy. Trey Cool comes riding along on his tricycle but crashes into a wall, one testicle shooting out of his body. Trey Cool coming, riding along on his tricycle, but crashes into a wall. One testicle shooting out of his body. As Mike and Brain Stew try and fail to stop Billy Joe Armstrong from what is he about to do, the crazed, insomnia-ruined man pulls out so hard all over it in the middle of the road. Billy takes one step sideways and falls over. God, the American dream is killing me. I'm sorry. I tried to keep this one serious. Where were we? So all the redacted words. Billy takes one step sideways and falls over. It's going to be a long week, Mike says, with Billy and Trey screaming in agony on the ground. So anyway, my catalytic whatchamadoohickey jammed up the carburetor McSwaggy Honkster and the Carmack Towbuck 86, the Broham Brake Masher. Oh my gosh! And legend has it that Brain Stew James Washburn is still standing there on that corner of Stewart and the Avenue and the Boulevard and rambling about muscle cars to this day. Don't do cars, kids. Do rugs. Do rugs.
Yeah, this is the rug. This is the Brahma home locker. It's got some toenails on it. It's got probably some leaves, some dead roly-polies. Don't worry about the stains there, Bob. That's fine. That's a raspberry stain. That's a bloodberry stain. My blood pressure is very, very high. Next position, please. Oh!
Billy kicked the smack and replaced it with Tree 3 alcohol, and life became peaceful like Pleasantville. He met a nice girl named Adrienne Nesser, and she moved across the country to be with him. She boxes up her favorite things, sold the rest at a rainy day yard sale. Big plans and leaving friends and a westbound sign. Weighed out her choices on a scale. Prevailing nothing made sense, just transportation and a blank decision. She's taking off. Taking off. Taking off. No time and no copping out. She's burning daylight and patrol. Blacked out the rear view mirror, heading westward on. Strung out on Confusion Road, a 10-minute nervous breakdowns. Xanax, a beer for thought, and she's determined. She's taking off. She's taking off. She's taking off. She's taking off. Oh, is this salvation or an escape from the discontent? Will she find her name in the California cement? Punched out of the grind that punched her one too many times. Is tragedy 2,000 miles away? She's taking off. All right. Chapter 86. With wife and kid in tow, life is now more idyllic than it once was. Mike and Trey have forgiven him like that guy in a quick one while he's away. And Green Day actually shifted in the direction that Billy Joe wanted all along. He didn't want Insomniac to be as big as Dookie, as annoying as people would be about it in 30 decades later. It was worth it. With the wife and kids out on an idyllic Sunday drive, Billy sees a young man that reminds him of himself when he was, well, just a few years younger than he is now, just a few years ago. The young man, a big blue mohawk, tree 3 miles tall, if you can believe it, is making deals up on what the locals and Billy calls Tightwad Hill. Billy chuckles a bit. Not at the expense of the new businessman on the hill, but just at life in general. 80 says something, but Billy doesn't quite catch what she says. It was something clever about the contradictions of life.
Bill, Hugo, Chris, and Johnny. It's adventure time.